Today I have a special guest with me, the CEO of Anastasia Film Productions, a two-time breast cancer survivor, Glenda Resurreccion. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Glenda.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, it's so nice to finally get this interview with you. I know you're very busy most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
But things changed because of the quarantine. But we still get to do some work at home. But it's not as busy as it used to be.
Yeah. Before we get started, let's start off on a word of prayer.
Okay.
Father in heaven, Lord, please guide this interview today, and may your will be done through it, and to help others that are going through battles in life, whether it be cancer or this coronavirus right now. I pray all this in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, let's start the beginning. Where did your journey begin? Where were you born? How old are you today, if you don't mind me asking?
No, I don't mind. It's okay. I was born here in Manila, Philippines, San Juan, Metro Manila to be exact. And I was born August 15, 1972. So that makes me 47.
Okay.
I'm turning 48 this year.
Okay. Okay. Oh, now you're a two-time breast cancer survivor, correct?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow, that's amazing. When were you diagnosed?
Well, the sonogram was interpreted on January 6, 2018. But the first visible sign, the first sign or first symptom that I paid attention to appeared December 25 of 2017, Christmas night. Wow. After all the parties and merriment, I went home, ready to go to bed, and then I saw the sign. It's a lesion on my right breast. So I decided to see my OBGYN because I had no idea who to talk to. It's, I thought it was part of the reproductive system, because no one in my family had cancer. So I didn't know who to talk to, who to consult with when it comes to things like that. And then my OBGYN advised me to do a sonogram. So we did. And I saw the result that same afternoon. I knew something was wrong, but cancer was the last thing on my mind. Like I said, we didn't have any history of cancer in the family. January 6th was the first time it was interpreted by a real surgeon. She was recommended by my OBGYN. And she just told me that there were a lot of red flags. Oh, it's so huge, you have a lump here, you have a lot of red flags. But she wasn't telling me anything about it. She didn't mention the word cancer. I had to ask her myself. Wow. So I said, because I was getting impatient already. I said, so what is it, doc? Is it cancer? Yes. Oh my goodness. That was the start of it. It's like my world crumbled. Oh, yeah. It's weird because that was the first time I heard my name and cancer in the same conversation. So what happened was, it's like my head was spinning so fast with so many questions, like, what's going to happen to me now? What's going to happen to our film? Am I still going to be able to get married and have children? Having children was really a concern because if it's cancer, well, there's a possibility of things getting worse. Like I remembered a friend of mine, she was diagnosed with breast cancer on one breast, but she decided to have the other breast removed as well. And they also decided to remove her ovaries. But fortunately for her, she's already married with 2 kids. But I was single. I'm still single. So it's crazy. I mean, I felt like that was the end of all my dreams to have my own family. And then I was also asking myself, am I going to die? When? My head was spinning so fast, but at the same time, I felt my world stop. It's crazy. It's I think only a cancer survivor would understand, like yourself, would understand the feeling. Because especially if, prior to that, things were going so well. Yeah. We had the film showing in several government agencies. That was the first event, like 2017 December.
What was this film? What was this film you were working on at the time? Was it?
The film is called Owl Butterfly.
Hey!
Mas lalo kang ang gumanda eh.
Ang usap-usapan, baka minulest siya ng tsuhin niya.
Bakit ngayon mo lang ako kinausap? Ba't hindi ka magsalita? Huwag kang takbo na takbo at harapin mo problema mo!
Kumalat na sa mga parents ang naging behavior mo recently.
you go.
Ngayon, pwede mo bang ikwento ang nakita mo nung araw na yon?
Truth, Abby! I want you to tell me the truth!
Hindi kita kilala! Hindi kita kilala!
Abby! You're not gonna get away from me that easily!
Ngayon ba? Galit ka pa rin.
Hindi mo ako mahal! Sinungaling ka!
Mahal kita!
Kahit pa ituloy natin ang kasal, sa'yo wala hindi mauuwi yun.
Abby!
The first film that I wrote, first full-length feature that I wrote, and 2017 we got our endorsement from the Philippine Commission on Women. So the first agency that called Philippine Commission on Women was the Malacanang Palace. I mean, the Office of the President, Malacanang, and we had film showing in 3 other government agencies. So I thought that was the start of something big. We're gonna fly so high, and then a couple of weeks later, cancer happened. So it was really scary.
We'll get back to the. I have a lot of questions about the movie Al Butterfly, and I have a lot of questions about it. But we'll get back to what stage was it? Did they say what stage you were in, or what
Well,
stage?
normally you find out after the surgery. So I had my surgery. I was given enough time to cry. I did the surgery a month later, so January 6th, February 6th. Stage 3C, and then we did the histopath. Not only for the stage, it was stage 3C, not only because of the size of the lump. They also had to count how many infected lymph nodes I had. I found out after the histopath that of the 16 lymph nodes that they extracted, 14 tested positive for malignancy. So aside from the huge lump, which was 6 cm big, I also had 14 cancerous lymph nodes. My goodness, I didn't even know, because when we read the sonogram, they only detected 2. But after the surgery, I had 14.
Wow.
You know, so it was stage 3C. I was nearing the jackpot round. Can you imagine that? Being diagnosed. And then we did another test. It's called FISH. Because they needed to identify it's called the breast tissue panel. I'll make it simple. It's the ER/PR HER2 new, okay? All cancer survivors, they know that. We were praying for ER positive, and HER2 negative. Well, we got the ER and the PR that we wanted, but the HER2 new, it was positive. We wanted it to be negative, but it turned out to be positive. That means in an ordinary cancer cell, if it's HER2 new negative, there's about 50 to 100,000 receptors, protein receptors. But in my case, because it was HER2 new positive per cancer cell, there were about 1 to 2 million protein receptors. And these protein receptors, they make cancer cells multiply. So it was really an aggressive case, advanced stage. And it was also in the invasive ductal carcinoma. So it moves fast because it was in the milk duct. So that was my case. It was very complicated and very expensive too. Very expensive to treat.
How is the Medicare over there in the Philippines where you're at? Do you have a medical coverage that helps along, or do you have to pay out of pocket yourself?
Okay. We had all those things, but I also had insurance. But the thing is, I wasn't paying consistently, because before it happened, 2016, I was paying consistently. 2017, before it happened, we were not getting a lot of jobs anymore. So because I'm a freelancer, you rely on, you get paid on a per project basis. You have to choose. I had to choose the now and not the future, because I would have thought that I'd get sick. I thought I was leading a healthy life, no history of cancer in the family. Assumptions are deadly. So, at least now we know that just because you didn't have any relative who had cancer, it doesn't mean you won't develop that disease. Because now I know that in my country, in every 13 women or 13 people, one will develop cancer. And studies say that the Philippines now has the highest cases of cancer, breast cancer in Southeast Asia. We also have the youngest cases of breast cancer. Why? I have no idea.
There's no anything linking the cancer clusters there, or anything that's being breathed over there necessarily, or
Well, I don't know, but I know when I was doing my study, one province had the most cases, but I can't mention the province because people might get offended. But it was puzzling. I learned too that genetics, you inherit the disease. They say if there's no cancer in the family, you won't inherit. No, you can still develop that. Genetics is only 5%. So if you have an aunt or an uncle who had cancer, the possibility of you getting that disease is only 5%. So anyone could still get that disease, and we don't know. That's the terrible thing about cancer. You don't know who's going to get it.
Yeah.
About the Medicare, let me go back to that question.
Yeah.
We had all those things. Well, I had PhilHealth, but unfortunately, I was, not paying consistently either, because I had to prioritize life now or the future. So what I did when I got the diagnosis and it didn't look good, what I did was I paid for 6 months back. I mean, that was December. I don't know, say 3 months back and 3 months forward. But it was still not enough. I lacked 3 months because you're supposed to have complete payment, consistent payment for at least 9 months consecutive.
Yeah.
But it was December. I was able to pay for October, November, December. And can I pay for January, February, March? Oh, sure. So I said, oh, February is covered. But they told me, only 6 months of payment. That's not enough. You're supposed to have 9 months consistent payments. Like, So we had to launch a campaign, a fundraising campaign. When I announced it on Facebook, they just gave me enough time to grieve and to process what was going on, because it was really crazy. It was really a difficult time, and to adjust to the initial shock. And then we had to make an announcement, because it would be difficult to launch a fundraising campaign unless you make a public announcement about that. And it's posted on Facebook, so everyone knew about that case. And we got a lot of help from friends. I had a friend, she sent me a message, and then we met. And this friend, her name is Erlene. She's really very generous. She told me, now, when I read your announcement, I couldn't sleep. Because prior to that, we had another classmate, and she refused treatment. She, I think, opted for the herbal thing.
Yeah.
And when they decided to see a doctor, go to the hospital, the cancer was so huge, it was inoperable, and she died shortly after.
Yeah.
So, and here comes Glenda, somebody close to her, and she's sick, so she wasn't able to sleep. We had to meet, and then how much money you've got? I said, this and this amount. How much do you need for treatment? This amount. Whatever's lacking, she gave it to me. So I was able to go through the surgery, and a lot of friends donated. So we were able to come, because the initial computation, it amounted to 2.4 million, but that's not the only thing that I spent for, because that was just the initial computation. And when I found out that I was supposed to be, I was going to do an 18-month treatment, because I was doing, I was given 8 chemos for my treatment protocol. Okay, it had 8 chemos, 18 immunotherapy, and 30 rounds of radiation. Immunotherapy is more expensive than chemo. Okay, I gotta translate in dollars, but if there are Filipinos watching this, okay, 1 chemo session for breast cancer, well, the first 2 combination for the first 4 cycles, I think 16,000 pesos. Mm-hmm. Okay, you can do the math later. And then for the second combination, just 1 medicine, the first half of that combination, 32,000, and then it combined with immunotherapy, 1 cycle is almost $2,000. 1 cycle, that's 2 vials. So that's how expensive it was. So in my frustration, I told God, I'm not going to go around begging people for money. Let's end this now. I was suicidal, bro. And actually, in fact, the first thing I learned about cancer, my first meal for that day, because from the hospital, I had to go to work, and my director was a guy, I couldn't tell him about the cancer. You know that I work as a voice actor. I had to sync my lines. Against, there's a video in front of me. You have to sync it with the mouth of the actor that you're dubbing. Yeah. And I couldn't concentrate. I was struggling to sink it because deep inside me, I wanted to scream I had cancer. And that afternoon, after dubbing, I didn't go home straight. I was trying to figure out where I could eat, where I will not die, after eating, because I felt so scared. Death felt so near. On this side, there's a restaurant, everything's oily. On this side, there's a restaurant, everything's starchy. Like, I was so confused. I ended up eating at 9:20 p.m. 9:20 in the evening. My first meal, forcing that food, shoving it down my throat just so I wouldn't die of starvation. And that afternoon, I told my pastors, because we have a group chat, I told them it was cancer. And then I got on the phone with a friend of mine. She was already nearing the graduation, her chemo graduation. She was the friend I was telling you about, the one who had her ovaries removed. Yeah. And she said, Ate is like the title you give to an older sister, older friend. And she's a lawyer. She said, Ate, I have already cried so many tears because of cancer. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I spent this amount of money, but God provided. Thank God for this friend who reminded me in a very dark moment of my life that God will provide. But being the shocked human being that I was, because this is cancer and it's inside my body, I couldn't process that reality. I couldn't process. All I knew was, I'm going to die. I'm going to die soon. And this treatment is so expensive. And that night, I had to really pray so hard, because I was asking God, were you so happy with the way we handled their sexual abuse awareness campaign that you want me to take on cancer awareness as my next advocacy? I could study it. I could do research on that. I'm badass when it comes to research. I could do that. Why do I need to get sick? But God has other plans, in fact, a couple of days before the surgery, when I was cleaning my bathroom tiles, because I knew that I would not be able to do it for a long time because I would have to recover after the surgery. Yeah. I was bargaining with God, if you will only heal me now. Sometimes we do that. If you will only heal me now, Lord, I don't want to go through surgery. Please heal me miraculously, and I'll do this. I'll serve you, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. But you know what God told me that afternoon? He said, Glenda, that scar, you are on a new mission now. And that scar across your chest is the badge that qualifies you for it. Take note, that was 2 days before surgery, but for God, that scar had already been marked on my chest, had already been stamped on my chest. I've already been drafted for that mission. There was no turning back, no way of escaping. So that's the beginning of my story. And then treatment lasted for 18 months. So I did a surgery. It was difficult. It's very challenging. And one thing I was not prepared for was the emotional role. They told me, one pastor, I was prepared for the physical side effects, but no one told me about the emotional struggles.
Are you talking about the prednisone? Did you have to take the prednisone? Prednisone?
What is that?
The prednisone chemo, it kind of puffs you up, but it gives mood swings sometimes. Prednisone?
No. I had Docetac. The first two combinations, I had cyclophosphamide and the other medicine, the other drug, which they call the red devil because it's red.
Oh, red man.
Doxorubicin.
Doxorubicin, yeah.
Doxorubicin. Okay. Yeah. When that's infusing, you cannot move. So before they infuse that in you, because first, they do the water to cleanse you, and then they infuse the cyclophosphamide, and after that, water again to flush out whatever chemical. I don't know the term, exact explanation for that. It said it's for flushing. So water again, liquid again, and then doxorubicin. They said before doxorubicin, make sure you go to the bathroom. Okay? Make sure you flush out whatever liquid you have, because doxorubicin, that's a lot. And you can't pee. You're not supposed to move once they have, your doxorubicin infusion is ongoing. You're not supposed to move. You know why? You know why? Because you have that plastic needle inside of you. It gets out of position. Medicine would leak and it's going to burn your skin. And I've seen cancer patients with burn on their skin, and I knew that was what happened. And then for the second combination, I had docetaxel. And then
Did you have methotrexate?
huh?
Did you have to do methotrexate?
No, I didn't
Oh,
have that.
yeah.
Is that also for chemo? For chemo or the after chemo oral medicine? Because I had after chemo oral medicine. I had tamoxifen.
I have to look up my chemo protocol later. I had when I was 16, and methotrexate. I just remember it gave me a big headache. I remember a lot about the prednisone, and Portia's going through that right now. And the prednisone, I know, but a lot of them have mood swings. It's a
Yeah,
side
I
effect.
have that.
Up, down. Yeah, that.
Yes, I
Yeah,
had that.
that's what they don't
You
tell
know,
you about. Those are the hardest things, personally.
I became a better actress during chemo because I experienced like just walking from my room to the bathroom with tears rolling down my
Yeah.
and one afternoon, I think that was a couple of days because during infusion you have to count a couple of days before you start your immune system start plummeting to hell. And then you start, all these mood swings and you become emotional. So one evening, my mom was lying on a mattress and, I lie down beside her and she said, you did nothing the whole day but cry. And he said, I was still crying. He said, Mama, I want to have a boyfriend now. I said, make sure you recover first before you think of having a boyfriend. And then I told her, because I need someone to buy vitamins and fruits for me at the groceries. And she goes, what you need is not a boyfriend. What you need is a houseboy. So it's like, oh my goodness. All right. So it was really a difficult time. There were funny moments, but most of the time it was really painful and sad. And the emotional swings, the mood swings, I had those on top of all the physical side effects. Thankfully, I never experienced like serious vomiting, just the cinematic vomiting, but not really the vomiting with solids coming out of your mouth. But I had other very painful side effects. I had body pains, chest pains that will pierce. How do I describe it? It pierces from the chest to your back, and then you have a separate pain on your back. But sometimes the chest pain would trigger the back pain, and then I had bone pains as well. And sometimes they happen simultaneously. They have a party inside my body. So, I couldn't do anything but cry. And even crying was limited in a way because you can't cry too much. Any slight movement could make the pain worse. So, you have to force yourself to calm down. It was tough, and I was not prepared for that. I had to adjust along the way. You learn how to fight while you're in the middle of the battle. That's what happened to me.
And on your first battle, you said that 2 times. Did it come back or?
Oh yes, I don't know what happened because I did everything humanly possible to get treated. We went to this government agency, sought for help, and people helped me. And I was eating the right food. For some reason, after my chemo graduation, less than 3 months after, I saw another lump right here on the same side where we had the surgery, where we had the radiation sessions, 30 radiation sessions.
And when
I
was
thought,
this?
all of that amounted to nothing.
What year was this?
Same year, 2019. That was just last year. So I graduated July 5. That was the end of my chemo, last immunotherapy session, July 5, 2019. And then this September 25, there was another lump. So we did the sonogram again, we did the biopsy, and we found out it's cancer. And, we were shocked. My doctor was asking me, what happened? I don't know. I had no idea. I could not explain it. But so many things came out. So many positive things came out of that situation. Well, first, I realized that I'm more poised now. Because after, getting of course, I still got shocked when I learned about the cancer, that it was cancer again, that it's back. So the fear was that it had spread to other organs. If it's breast cancer, the danger zones are the brain, the lungs, the liver, and the bones. Okay, so that was the fear. And when my doctor didn't tell me anything when she sent me a private message, all she said was, can you come see me at my office tomorrow? But I know my doctor. She's been my doctor for a long time. Normally, if it's a happy news, she'll call on the phone. Oh, we're so happy. It's negative. But she asked me to come see her at her office. So I knew something was wrong. That afternoon, I was at the computer shop because my internet was down. And I knew, you know, the feeling when you are forcing yourself to concentrate, to remain poised, but it's like a bucket of cold water has been poured over your head because you are so close to death again. What I did was, I didn't want a repeat of what happened before, where I had my first meal for the day at 9:20 p.m. After that, I went to the nearby cafeteria in the building on the ground floor. We had a small cafeteria, and I forced myself to eat. I was crying while eating. I was listening to music, probably. The people there, I mean, they're my friends, but I don't know their names, but, you know, we have a common, like an unspoken friendship. I'm sure they saw me crying. And maybe they thought that, you know, I was just sad listening to music, I'm brokenhearted, but I didn't tell anyone about the cancer. I went back to the internet shop, continued with my work, and the following day I went to my doctor's clinic with my mom. So that's when we thought, was that, you know, the same afternoon where my mom was with me? Oh no, my mom wasn't with me anymore. But that afternoon I was alone. She was with me when we did the sonogram and then the biopsy. A week later, because she was eager to know what happened with the result because it was taking too long. I said, you know, we have to wait for 5 to 7 days. When I found out it was cancer, I was scheduled to do a dubbing after, just like the first time I was diagnosed. But I was more poised this time. And but you know that the film we were dubbing that day was a Cameron Diaz film. I think my sister's keeper. It's about cancer. And I had to tell the doctor in the film, say, my goodness, what is going on? And I knew my director that day was another guy. And later on, she told me I could sense something was wrong. But I told him, you know, because I was late for the dub, I told him, I'm still at the hospital. And then when I got to my studio, I didn't tell him anything. But I think he sensed that something was wrong. I was still, you know, lively, and the bubbly Glenda that, you know, they always see in dubbing. But he could sense that something was wrong. He had discernment. He's Christian too. I didn't tell him anything. And then after that, we had to make plans for the second treatment. It was very difficult. I also found out that because my body was still recovering from my 18-month treatment from the first cancer, we could not do chemo anymore. We had to do radiation, but 10 rounds only, you know, because it was small. It was scary, but thankfully, this time I was able to avail of the PhilHealth benefit. So that entire surgery that we did, that was for free. And the whole time I was goofing around with my surgeon and her two very, you know, young nurses. It was a funny time, but I was also scared before that. So we had to go to a nearby burger shop because I eat Big Mac when I'm upset. And then before the surgery, we had to do a PET scan, the very expensive PET scan, to check if the cancer had, you know, had been gallivanting to other organs. But thankfully, it stayed in one location. It was local recurrence. It was very small, and we were able to detect it at the very early stage. So, you know, we were able to take care of it right away. And after the surgery, because it was done in a private clinic in a mall, we had to walk from the mall to another mall, and I was doing Facebook Live. That's right after surgery. I had my mom with me, and then my other nephew. Then the following day, we were out on the streets. No downtime. Imagine no downtime after surgery. We were out on the street with my mom. I did Facebook Live, and I did an interview with my mom because I knew it was also hard for her. You know, this was the daughter that she could hear, you know, she could listen to on the radio. She was the DJ, the one who recorded a rap album. She could hear her voice in the Korean novellas. This was the daughter who appeared in a movie, and now she's sick. She had cancer. She didn't even have enough strength to get up from the bed. And there were times when I asked my mother, what was the most difficult part for you? And she said, it's during the days when you could not get up from the bed. I had to lift your back. That was very painful for my mom. So after the second surgery for the second cancer, I had to interview her. And I asked her, what was your major fear? And she said, I thought we would have to go through the same process all over again, all those chemo sessions. So, and my mom, you know, I had to go through, what do you call this? Processing, you know, some people go through counseling, processing. My mom didn't want any of that. She said, oh, I want to, it's in the Philippines, it's called pastoral, you know, but that translates to, okay, let me find a simpler translation. Vacation. Okay, to roam around. But pastoral is actually just roaming around, going to nice places. But vacation is bakasyon in the Philippines. But that's what she wanted. She didn't want counseling. She wanted a vacation. So yeah, I gotta give her that because it's hard, and I'm the eldest in the family. So
Well, that's
I was
good.
afraid of that.
That's good. So through this, you've been able to connect with other people going through cancer, particularly women with breast cancer, like Portia. And
Yes, Portia.
yeah. So how did you meet Portia and other women? Do you have a how did you come to know them and share your testimony on Facebook, or like for example Portia, because we both know Portia.
Yes.
So how did you come to meet Portia and many others like her? How they come to know your testimony?
Okay, how I met Portia is different from how I met all the other girls. Portia sent me a message.
Okay.
She sent me a very long, normally I don't read messages from people that I don't know, but this one was long. And I checked if we had any common friends. Our common friend was one of my acting teachers. So okay, this is a good person. It's okay. Yeah. And she told me about her story. That morning, I was out on the street. I was out on the streets getting ready for my Facebook Live, and I talked about her. I read her letter because it was a letter. It was long. I read her, and then she sent me a reply. While I was doing Facebook Live, when I read her reply, I cried on air while I was doing Facebook Live. That's how our friendship started. And then she came to Manila with her husband. Okay, but the other girls I met at the hospitals, and what happened was when I made the public announcement, I think my posts were shared by people with their friends who were battling cancer, or those who were on treatment, on radiation. So that's how I met other people. Others, they sent me letters from all over the world. I got letters, and I found out that some of my friends had relatives who had died of cancer, and then this was difficult for me because they would tell me stories, you know, how bad they felt. I couldn't tell them, no, please don't tell me that story of how your father died, because it reminds me so much of the possibility that I could die too, and it was not helpful. But, you know, I had to let them talk because that was the only time they could breathe. Because cancer is not something that a lot of people want to talk about. It's like sexual abuse. Nobody wants to talk about cancer. It's like they fear that by talking about it, they would get the disease. You won't. But still, people are so afraid to talk about it. It's a very scary truth. But when I had cancer, I kept on talking about it. A lot of people, you know, read my stories, and I got letters from, okay, this particular letter that I can still remember until now. She told me that when my mother had cancer, we thought that she was just being too dramatic. She was overreacting because maybe the mother was, you know, in so much pain. But now we understand, because sometimes, you know, Chris, I would post, I am in pain. You know, on Facebook, when you post and you don't have any pictures, and you can choose the background, if it's black or pink, or depending on your mood. When I post using that gray background, that means I'm in pain. So I would ask for prayers. And I did that so many times because I was in so much pain. So I explained what I was going through, the people who were not nice to me, the insensitive people that I encountered. I talked about the things that you're not supposed to say to a cancer patient, the things you're not supposed to, like, do not set a meeting with a cancer patient and offer her funeral plans. Please do not.
Yeah, that's not
So
good.
it happened to one person. It didn't happen to me.
Yeah.
But what happened to me was also crazy because that was a time that was before surgery. I was with a friend talking about the process. I was so confused, so down.
Not a good idea
I
before surgery.
I'm
Not a good
sorry.
idea before surgery.
Yeah. And there's this guy. We were in a
Okay.
restaurant. I think he was listening to her, eavesdropping to her conversation, and he was selling multivitamins. And he claimed that this so and so got cured of cancer by taking these multivitamins. He said no. And what he did, because it's huge. It's like a folder this big,
Yeah.
like 2 pages, like that.
Mhm.
And what he did was after I said no, he pushed it aside towards my companion, and he said, "You really couldn't take no for an answer. What part of no couldn't can't you understand?"
Yeah.
So it was really very difficult. The truth is, we're both Christians, but I was so upset. I was so pissed off. I wanted to whack him in the face with his folder. Like, get away from me. Don't do that to me. I was so upset. And, I don't mind. It's business. I'm also a businesswoman. But there's a proper time and place for everything. And sometimes we just have to be sensitive to the sufferings of other people. Please have a heart. Cancer is really not an easy thing to deal with.
So
It's very difficult.
in the Philippines, there are a lot of people know you from your television work and your film production, Anastasia,
Hmm.
film productions, and kind of going through this cancer. People, you shared this. People know you apart from the cancer. They know you from your voiceover work and your
Yes.
TV commercials, and then you come out and you have cancer, and then you're kind of open to people coming to you and talking with you, like Portia and others. That's really great, here to do that. It's awesome. But let's talk about the movie that some of your movie productions with the Anastasia film, Al Butterfly. I want to know more about that.
Okay.
Because I haven't seen the movie yet. I haven't.
Uh-huh.
I know. I don't know if people who are watching this, but I have a friend, Cha, or my girlfriend Cha is Portia's sister, and through Portia's sister, I've gotten to know Glenda very well, and that's why we're doing this interview right now. I'm very blessed to be doing this interview, and but I've heard a lot about Al Butterfly, and I know it's about preventing sexual abuse among women. Tell me more about that. What inspired you to get into that? And
Okay, I remember Portia and Shaq were at the January screening, January 18th screening. Yeah, they were there.
Yeah.
Okay, what did they tell you about the film?
They said it was a really good film, but it's in what language is that in the
In
Philippines?
Filipino, but it's subtitled in English.
Okay.
So we've had foreigners in the audience in the past. We had Koreans, Americans, Canadians. It's subtitled in English. It's also sound subtitled for our hearing impaired brothers and sisters. We had one screening where we invited a lot of students from the Philippine School for the Deaf. And it's so nice to watch them because during the Philippine National Anthem, they were also doing the sign language. It was so touching. And then we had an interpreter, one of their teachers. So when I stood up in front explaining the things about sexual abuse, the interpreter was doing the sign language so everyone could understand it. Okay, the film is actually a psychodrama. I studied transformational teaching and learning. Okay, transformational teaching and learning. Okay, as my master's. And one of the things that I learned was using the arts in education. So like, for example, I want to talk about the Philippine national costumes. Instead of doing a lecture with PowerPoint about that, showing pictures, I would do a fashion show. That's how I think. So sexual abuse is another taboo topic in my country. You can do a lecture on that, but only the auditory learners would be interested in attending, and you will not be able to force the children, the students to attend that. But if you will make a movie you can cater to a lot of people,
Yep.
all age brackets, including the screen agers.
Yeah.
Screen agers. That's the generation now. And that's what I did. I talked about sexual abuse. It's a psychodrama. It's a film about courage, about hope.
Mm-hmm.
It's about mental health. And it's about compassion. It's about moving forward. You know, no matter how dark your past. That's why we're called Anastasia Film Productions. Anastasia means resurrection. Anastasis
And
is the Greek term of a Greek translation of Anastasia. It means resurrection in English. So for us, Anastasia Films, whatever trauma you may have gone through in the past, God can resurrect you.
Yep.
So that's what the film is all about. So it's about the courage of that little girl who was sexually abused. And then after the film showing, I'm in all the film showings, I talk about sexual abuse prevention, detection, and immediate response. And I talk about very specific examples which are commonplace in my country, like in family reunions. Sometimes you have this drunk uncle, you know, you would grab you around the waist. And especially because in my country, we grew up, like my generation, we grew up with our parents telling us you cannot participate but in adult conversation. You know, you cannot you cannot even reason out. You know, as adults now, when I teach adults in the audience, I would tell them that as parents, we have to know the difference between speaking up and talking back. Just because a child speaks up to explain his or her side doesn't mean that the child is talking back or being disrespectful. I had to explain that to them because we are all from the same generation where we are not allowed to speak up. So because of that mentality, a lot of people from my generation had been sexually abused in the past by relatives, by people in higher positions like teachers or church workers or uncles, but they were not able to speak up. Until now, they're still living with the trauma. That's why they're not able to maximize their potentials because they're still wounded. They're still scared. And you know, all these things, all the trauma will surface. It's only a matter of time. If you don't deal with that, you're going to suffer for the rest of your life. And I know of cases where adults as old as 80, you know, that was the only time they admitted to being sexually abused by a relative who had died decades ago.
yeah.
Because they were never given the chance to speak up. They were never given the chance to feel safe enough to open up about the suffering, the pain that they went through,
Yeah.
you know, because they didn't feel safe. And the common fear is they would be blamed, ridiculed, and, you know, what were you wearing that day? It's your fault. You know, you always go to that house. And that's not helpful.
Yeah.
It's difficult.
It is.
So, you know,
It's a lot. And here in the United States, a lot of it's the same way too. You have young men who are abused as children, and you know they're sexually abused as children, and a lot of times they grow up to be the people who are in prison, and that's why, like in prisons here, I imagine it's like this all over the world, but I could just speak for what's in the United States because I do prison ministry and stuff. But a lot of those guys in prison were sexually abused, homosexually abused a lot when they were children. And then when they get to prison, and whenever a sex offender comes in prison, that guy gets beat up real quick. They're called chomos, and they beat them up real quick. But when you get to talking with them, you realize that, you know, something happened to them as a kid that they would never tell anybody because they're not that way, you know, and they keep that in them. And that anger continues on, and you know it causes them to get in trouble with the law and not to trust the world and the laws and stuff. And that happens a lot here. Fortunately, in the United States with women, you know, we've encouraged people to speak out more. You know, there's a lot of services, but still there's still so much. There's still a lot, but people. For what I know, young women have an avenue to speak out more so here. There's still a lot of stuff that goes on and a lot of problems, but I imagine it's a little different from United States culture than over there, because a lot of I'm still learning a little bit more about your culture and here. So, but yeah, it's a problem, and speaking up anywhere is the answer to bringing an end to it. You know,
It's rampant here too. The last time I checked, in my country, one person gets raped every hour. One person. And of the 10 victims, 7 are children. So that's a lot. But I don't know now because of the quarantine. And I saw this poster on Facebook the other day that says his only safe place was the school. And there's a picture of a child with a black eye.
yeah,
And now everyone's forced to stay at home.
yeah.
With this, I can't imagine. I mean, with the same person who's been abusing them. So it's really difficult now. I don't know if there's going to be a study after to check if the number of cases rose because of the pandemic. I don't know. I mean, I'm scared to think about it, but I hope it didn't. I mean, that's why we are doing this advocacy. We are doing this awareness campaign. And many times when we go around, like in government agencies, because we are so welcome in government agencies,
Yeah.
we have had people in the audience who cried while sharing their story. Because what I tell them is this, after we leave, we've seen the film All Butterfly, if one of your office mates would talk to you privately and share about a rape experience, please do not tell other people. Keep it confidential, because of all the people in your office, you were the one she chose to confide with.
Yeah.
So please protect the secret, keep it confidential. So even during the discussion, they would feel safe and they would open up about it. And we sometimes I have to control my emotions, otherwise I would cry with them, and I'm in front and I'm not wearing waterproof makeup, so it's going to be messy, but but you're getting the picture, right? So it's really very difficult, because I need to be strong emotionally while listening to these stories, and I have to be able to process very fast so I could say something encouraging, empowering after this person speaks, because it's hard to open up about something that you don't even want to talk about, especially in that kind of setting. You have your bosses with you, your enemies with you in the same room, but you'll open up about something very sensitive. So we truly appreciate that, and we want to give them the assurance that they're safe here. They're safe, and I try to encourage them. And some of them have become my friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
So that's what we do with the advocacy, and hopefully, we'll be given the chance to show the film All Butterfly in different schools, because a lot happen in the schools, right? Because the parents are not there. Actually, one of my friends told me this story about a kid. So the parents drove him to school. He's 6 years old at 6:30 in the morning. So both parents were there, the mom and the dad. So they left. They went to work. The kid was left in school. They felt that, there's going to be no problem. The security guard was there. What happens was the child was raped by the security guard. So where can we go? Where there's no rapist? In an ideal world, there's no rapist. But this is not an ideal world. So this is something that we want to share with all the Christian churches in the Philippines. I'll be honest with you, they're not open to this kind of advocacy. We've only been given the chance to show the film in a couple of churches, but not in every church. It's like there's already a judgment when you say it's a film about sexual abuse. There's already a judgment that there's going to be a lot of nudity, of that indecent scene. Like in the January screening, the one where that Portia and Cha attended. You know what? We had some problems with the parents because they were so scared that the film will open up the eyes of their children, pollute them and violate them. It's like our children are not that pure anymore. I mean, I don't know a better term, but they're not that innocent anymore because of the internet. And I told them, I challenge you. If you see anything, kissing scene, bed scene, this scene, this scene, this scene, I will return your money and will even give you transportation money because we disturb you so you can go back home safely.
Yeah.
So after that, they didn't see anything wrong with the film, and they were shocked because the moment I stood up on stage, I talked about God. I talked about the gospel. I talked about the body being the temple of the Holy Spirit.
Yes.
And I also revealed to them some sites that are now circulating on the internet, the links, sites that have been proven to be very bad for children. And
Absolutely.
even Disney had a film which is bad for children. And also, even if you tell me, oh, the only thing that my children read online is the Bible, okay. The U version of the Bible is now being used also by perpetrators. It's been proven, and they've got the guy behind it. So, I mean, come on, let's open our eyes. Give us a chance. So please pray for us. To anyone watching this, please pray for our All Butterfly advocacy, because before this happened, we had an ongoing transaction with one church, and our contact is a radio announcer who had given us the opportunity to be interviewed on radio a couple of times. She's very passionate about this, okay? Mm-hmm. We wanted to show the film in her church, but, COVID-19 happened. Also, I am in the middle of communication with an official from a government agency that could help us show the film in this school for special children. So, in COVID-19, I was very excited about that, but COVID-19 happened. But, I'm just trying to encourage myself. At least I have a lot of things to look forward to after the pandemic and at the right time. Oh, also, I had an ongoing communication with, before this happened, with a teacher from Kamsur, and we were planning to do a film showing in their school and other schools. So a lot to look forward to after the pandemic, because we have to educate our children.
Yes.
If we don't, the rapists will.
Yeah.
So we have to do it, ahead of time in a language that is safe for them, because we care about them.
Yes.
There.
What is with Al Butterfly? Is that the Al Butterfly meeting? Because I see a lot of times like this, it means does that mean like that people are seeing or understanding? Yeah.
Okay.
What's the meaning behind that? Does that mean we're watching?
Al Butterfly is a real butterfly.
Yeah.
It's one type of butterfly. The upper wings and the lower wings. The lower wings have dots. You know what they do? The butterflies, they're smart. Sometimes they really hung themselves upside down so that they would look like owls. And they do that to scare other animals away.
Uh-huh.
So the animals would think that they're owls because they really look like owls with those big eyes. And they're very wise. These butterflies, they usually come out late afternoon, sunset, which is perfect for me because I also love the sunset, because that's the only time where they feel very safe. Okay? And actually, I normally explain this in the film. So I'll give you half of the explanation. Mm-hmm. The other half, you have to watch the film. Okay, so it's
I'll link here too, so everyone else can watch it. But yeah.
This is what I'm going to do. When you post this interview, I will, in the comment section, I will put the link to our trailer so you can watch. If you haven't seen it yet, if our viewers would like to see it.
I'll put it all in the video too and in the description. People will see it, definitely.
It's a real butterfly, actually. And you know what happened? When I was on chemo, in the Philippines, we don't have owl butterflies. But there's an owl butterfly that visited me. I mean, there are 36 floors in this building. On one floor, there are, I think, 35 units. Of all the units, the owl butterfly decided to fly into my house, straight to my room, and stayed in my house for 3 days. But you know that owl butterfly has one broken wing, the right wing. So I knew it was God talking to me, because I had a surgery on the right side.
Yes.
And the butterfly, I was able to watch. I was able to take a few seconds worth of video, but it was still flying. It was struggling, but it was flying. And I was like, during the time, I was feeling condemned already. I thought, I was thinking, I'm the cause of delay because of this illness. We couldn't, do this and do that. And it was God's way of telling me that even if you had a broken wing, Glenda, you could still fly. You could, and this advocacy could still fly.
And owl butterflies aren't even common up there, right? So it's it's definitely a God thing, to showing you something.
Yeah, and I realized too when I look back at my old pictures that I've already seen and photographed an owl butterfly when I went to Houston, because we visited one museum in Texas. We went to San Antonio. Oh no, that was the day we visited KSBJ, a radio station. Okay, and then we went to this museum, and they have an owl butterfly farm there, and I took pictures of several butterflies, and there's one. It's an owl butterfly. It was back in 2014. So that was the same year that I presented the story, the script, the storyline to my executive producer and director. But the title of the film back then was The Blue Doll. It was not Owl Butterfly. We just
Blue
changed
Doll.
it later on.
Yeah, it doesn't have the same.
Blue Doll.
Well, what would the linkage between the owl butterfly and the film about sexual abuse? How's the linkage? Like they can see it, like the owl butterfly can see, or
Oh,
or
remember I
will
told
I
you
get it when
earlier that
when I watch the movie? Will I just suddenly get it so that's it. That's something.
it was
you gotta watch
explained in the
movie.
film. Towards the end of the film, it was explained. So you would know after watching the film, it will all make sense.
Okay, so if you
All
want to
right,
know, you
so-
got to tune into the film. We'll leave it in the link there. It's right there.
No, what we will leave is the link to the trailer. The
Mhm.
film is not online. Okay, someday it will be all, but not not just yet. So we need to go around the entire Philippines first before we do the pay-per-view thing. Okay, we are considering that already, but not just yet.
Are you working on another movie, Magdalene, Mary Magdalene?
Yes.
I see.
Oh,
Tell me more about
that movie. That movie, Magdalena, Released from Shame, is actually produced by Jesus Films in cooperation with Campus Crusade for Christ.
Mhm.
Okay, so they wanted, they've been dubbing that film in different languages and in different dialects. It was the first time that they dubbed that film in Filipino. So they asked, their contacts for recommendations for the lead actress, because they tapped one organization of artists to do the other roles. But for the lead, they got this advice from one actor. They said, for the lead role, you get a professional number for that. Okay, so they approached one girl, but she was sick that time, and this lady is also my friend. And then they said that girl that they considered first also recommended 3 other friends.
Mhm.
Okay, so they contacted the 3 friends. One was driving, the other 2, one was busy, the other 2 was not responding, and the other one was not responding. And then they contacted me.
Mhm.
Okay, what I did was I studied the face, I studied the acting, the emotion, and then I waited one day. When I was rested, the following day, that's when I recorded the voice clip, my audition piece, and I said, but my reaction for when they sent me the audition piece, don't you have any scene that's more difficult? Because it was the first scene, and you don't get a lot of action in the first scene, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I sent, and they loved it. Like in less than 5 minutes, I got a call, and they told me that I got the part. So that's where it all started. And then it was shown on television, local television, on Monday, Thursday, and we were able to announce it. And I said, there's going to be a curfew on Monday, Thursday between 3 p.m. to 5:30. If you are caught walking around outside, you'll be arrested by the local government unit, because you're supposed to be home watching Magdalena. It's like crazy. That's my way of promoting it. But, we had very good reviews. So thank you. Thanks to everyone who watched that film.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on the coronavirus that's happening right now?
Oh, that.
I can share a little bit what it's like in the United States now. Right now in the United States, you got I think we have about 87,000 deaths, but very large population in the United States, and about 1.5 million people currently on today's date, May 16th. But in the United States, there's a lot of between our 2 parties, the Democrats and the Republicans, that one side wants to keep closed for safety, the other side wants to reopen because our economy's not doing too good. So there's kind of 2 sides to both of that, and I can understand a little bit on both sides about it. What's it like in the Philippines now?
Well, the coronavirus exposed a lot of things. During the first few weeks, yeah, hello? During the first few weeks, I was still following the news. I was reading almost everything that everybody was saying about it, doctors, and then testimonies from nurses in other countries, the number of cases, how it was rising. But I'll be honest, before the lockdown, I attended a prayer meeting, and we had to pray for the government officials. And it was hard for me to do that, particularly for one official. And it's because, we knew that there's going to be an announcement in a couple of hours. But what I did, I was really struggling with anger. I left the group. There were 2 other girls with me. It was, it's a small prayer group, and then you get assigned different things, like you pray for this government official, like our government official, and this, side of this level of the government and stuff like that. We were assigned to pray for government officials. What I did was I left the group, and then I went to one corner of the church. It's a big church, near the trash bin, and I cried. I was so angry. And I was saying, it's your fault. It's your fault. It's your fault. I'm not going to go into details, but that's part of my training with coronavirus. I was angry. But later on, I decided, okay, all right, cooperate, participate, and learn what you can. So I was doing videos, giving information on keeping track of the germs, of the bacteria, and stuff like that. But something happened in the Philippines. I don't remember when it was, but I got so angry because one popular person did something very bad, inconsiderate, and he tested positive for the coronavirus, and he went to one hospital. So he exposed a lot of medical practitioners to himself, and it's not a good thing. I was, again, let's not go into details, but I was very angry that night. I was very upset. I really cried out to God, and what did I do? I was, Lord, hold my hand, because I was really so angry. I was scared of the situation, and here comes this, person. The following day, when I woke up, I could feel the heaviness in my heart, and I was telling myself, I am waking up to a country. I'm waking up in a country of very angry people because of what happened the previous night. That time, I made a decision to back off, to pull away from that situation. Otherwise, it's not going to, it's not going to be good for me. I'm surviving. I survived cancer. I'm recovering from the treatment, and too much negative emotion would be detrimental to my recovery. Yeah. So I decided to back off. And I backed off, farther and farther and farther away from the situation. I was still giving tips, but I stopped little by little until it reached the point where I stopped posting on Facebook. So for almost 2 weeks, I was not posting anything on Facebook because I wanted to rest. I was just communicating with Pinky Town, our private group for cancer patients and survivors. Other than that, no more. I wasn't doing any videos. You know what I was doing at home? I was reading a lot of reading. I was reading a lot because instead of complaining, I decided to just create. Because if this extends, the economy is bad, and we're now planning on making adjustments at home to be able to produce some kind of work, so that we would still earn. There has to be some form of income coming in, because the bills will keep coming in. So we have to make adjustments. Instead of complaining and following the news and, reading this person's comment on that and being angry when there's really nothing you can do about that, why not just study and create? The good thing is I've been trained to do business online, and I've been training for more than a year already. So there's a lot that I can do. In fact, during the pandemic, we did not stop working, brother. I was still working on my ebook, and now it's with the layout artist. So even before I finished editing the book, I was already
about that, by the way. What is the ebook about?
Oh, it's about cancer, surviving chemotherapy. It's about, because like, remember we were talking about this earlier. No one prepared me for the emotion. I was prepared for the physical side effects. I had, my doctors gave me a couple of lists. The first list was the list of side effects that you can expect and the possible, the prescribed medication. The other list was the prescription itself. So you have all those medicines in the milk with her signature and license number. Okay, we took pictures of that so that, whoever's outside can buy whatever medicine that I need. I was prepared physically because I did my research and I read books that were given to me by friends, but no one prepared me for the emotional challenges, the mental turmoil, and then the spiritual challenges, the spiritual struggles. No one prepared me for that.
Not just the mental that what you're going through. It's like these chemo medicines give you mood swings. They make you up and down. Your physical and your mental. They cause mood swings. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that the chemotherapy, I can tell you about prednisone, they definitely cause ups and downs. And Portia right now has prednisone, and, the prednisone and a lot of the chemos, they have that kind of mood swing, like prednisone's a steroid, and steroids have those ups and down mood swings. So along with the psychological of why I survived this and then having to, fortunately, I was kind of lucky because when I had my cancer, I was 16. My mom dealt with all the stuff about paying and all that, taking me there. I can't imagine as an adult, you have to, along with the stuff, the stuff you're taking, that's also messing with, your emotions too. It's a real battle, the emotional, that's what the ebook's about, the emotional. People need that the most, I think.
Yeah, and I also had nightmares. No one told me about nightmares. So,
What's the name of the book?
The name of the drugs?
No, the name of the book.
The name of the what?
The name of the ebook.
The ebook. Well, we cannot announce it yet because we haven't made a public announcement. We just call it the Pink Book.
The Pink Book?
We just call it the Pink Book because I was, wearing pink on the cover. I'm on the cover of the book. But before that, there's another book, the Blue Book. That one we will give away for free. It's a compilation of the things that I posted on Facebook, the stories that I wrote that, really enlightened a lot of people. And we compiled some of the stories. We put them together in one beautiful book. We call it the Blue Book. And that's the one thing that we're giving away for free. So if you're interested in that, just send me your email address. So as soon as we're ready to launch, you'll be the first one to receive that free ebook. All right. So that's that's a special gift, for all of you out there, even if you're not on treatment for cancer. And then the Pink Book will be released very, very soon. Okay, so we're just working on that, making it really beautiful.
Okay.
Let me talk about the nightmares. No one told me about the nightmares.
Nightmares?
When I started talking about it. Sorry?
You still remember the nightmares? Or?
Yeah, it's the same theme. Same theme. It's like people or animals or machines squeezing me. Like I'm in the middle of all these things, all these machines, and they're squeezing me. Like, why? Same theme, same story, just different characters. And when you're asleep, you get the nightmares. When you're awake, you get hallucinations. There's no escaping. It was hell on earth. Yeah. It's difficult. And it was only when I sent a message to one of my group chats. I had prayer warriors. One of my group chats. I said, how come nobody told me about? Because there were I think about two cancer survivors, and then one lady, her mom survived cancer. It was the only time when I told them that, I had nightmares. How come nobody told me about nightmares? I was really upset. It was the only time that two of them admitted that one of them had nightmares when she was on chemo. There were snakes on the foot of her bed, and there were skeletons running after her. And then the other girl, she told me that her mom also had nightmares. So she would wake her up in the middle of the night because, she was moaning and I don't know what else. But it was really difficult. I talked about that in the book. And also the spiritual struggles, questions, why did it have to be me? I was complaining to God. I think it's normal for people to to ask questions, especially if it's something of that magnitude. I mean, cancer is not German measles. German measles is also deadly, but that's cancer. That's cancer. I mean, but a lot of things happen. Well, things happen for a reason, and a lot of good things came out of that experience because I myself went through it. I did just do a research about it. I knew what it's like to have to be bald, to wear a wig, and to,
I saw that on your Facebook. You look good bald. You had that. Not very many women would post their picture with their bald. You look good with it. I mean, with chemo, a lot of people don't post that, but I think you had about 500 likes on that picture, right? You just posted it on there. That took straight. That inspired a lot of people. I tell you, that inspired a lot of people.
Well, I think I was brave to go skinhead because the people at the salon, they're also my friends. I have a lot of friends in the building. They told me, "Oh, you have a small face. You will look like a model when you shave your head off." But then, after shaving it, I went to the lobby and I asked one of our guards, "Kuya," you know what Kuya means, right? Kuya, like older brother or older friend. Kuya, how do I look? And he was shocked. He couldn't give me a straight answer, so I knew he was, like normally guys say want women with long hair. But yeah, I survived. I knew what it's like to be bald and to feel very unattractive. Your back crooked because you're you lost one part of your body, and then you feel very unattractive. I struggled so bad with self-esteem. I had this evil thought. It's not exactly evil, but it's not positive. I was telling myself, if the guys from church would start choosing mates from among the members, no one will pick you because you're ugly. I had that struggle. Oh my God. It's really very bad. So I had to pray a lot when I was on treatment, and I thank God for those prayer warriors, because when the spirit dies, your will to live, that's when you go a downward spiral. It goes a downward spiral from that. When your spirit is strong, no matter what pain it is that you're going through, no matter how difficult your situation may be, or how difficult your situation is, you will still continue to fight. You will still continue to forge on, and the encouragement from your friends will strengthen your resolve to fight. When you read the Bible, you will be strengthened. So you have to keep on strengthening your spirit by continually praying and reading the Bible, because the spirit must stay alive.
Amen.
Okay, that's and because of that, a lot of good things came out of it. The cancer experience. The next film that we're going to be doing will touch on cancer. It's a short film. But before that, there was another film that I wanted to do. It's also a short film. That's for a competition internationally. It's also a cancer. And that's another short film. But there's also a full-length feature. It's a full-length movie, maybe 90 minutes, 2 hours. It's about cancer that I want to do it. In fact, I've been scene banking for maybe more than a year now, since cancer started. So almost 2 years now. At the right time, that cancer film will be the first, or will be the third movie, but it's our first full-length movie about cancer. We need to do 2 short films first, because it's going to be my first directorial, and then another movie about bullying, and then we'll do the cancer film. So there, and then I was able to write the book. I was able to record vlogs about cancer and about wellness. I think I have a YouTube channel. It's in Filipino. If you're Filipino, you can watch it. You can check it out. It's Glenda Resurreccion.
I'll share the link on this. Yeah.
I'll help you find it. And I think we already have around 30 videos on cancer. And then I was able to post a lot of things about it and share information, the struggles that cancer warriors go through. So a lot of people, even those who don't even have relatives who are battling the disease. So a lot of good things came out of it. And you appreciate life more. You look at life differently. You look at certain situations you care about. You take care of yourself more, because before I thought I was leading a good life, a healthy lifestyle. but there were some things that I was not doing right. One time, well, I remember this happened many times, not just once. I would cook dinner. I would make dinner at 2 o'clock in the morning because I was busy the whole day writing proposal letters. So I don't do that anymore, and I would sleep very, very late, like 3 hours of the morning, and it's not very good. So now I cancel appointments, and at 7 p.m., usually my phones are off.
Yes.
You know, I close my world to the world, the rest of the world, because I need to rest and I need to cool down and, read something. I am more protective of myself now because you are still your number one caregiver. It's not the doctor, it's not your mother, it's still you. This is the Lord's gift to us, our bodies. It's our responsibility to take care of it, right?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things that I changed after recovering from cancer.
Sleep regenerating the cells. I think sleep is the most important. I try to get 8 hours of sleep every day. I know before I got cancer when I was 16, I would stay up really late at 15. I would be really, but you learn to get 8 hours of sleep is probably the most healthiest thing you can do because it replenishes all of your cells,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I'm asking more about your faith in the Lord. When did you come to know Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior? Did you always know, or is it one date specifically, or?
Summer, when I was 14 years old, May. When I was 14 years old. I don't remember the year, but when I was 14 years old, so I'll count later. That's when I got saved. We were living in this community, and we didn't have a television at home. So I would go to my neighbor's house, she's my friend, and I would watch TV on Saturdays. Saturday afternoon. One Saturday, we would watch the TV show was called Connie Reyes on Camera. That Saturday, I went to her house, for the usual TV show that we love. And then she had visitors, two men, two people, a man and a woman, Boy and Letlet. They are evangelists, They go to different communities, slum areas. They share the gospel to people who are willing to listen. That afternoon, they chose that house. Of all the houses in that community, they chose that house. Yeah. And that was the first time somebody preached the gospel to me and dealt with the core issue, because that time I was into occultism already. I was 14, 13. When I was 11, I had a classmate who was Christian, and she would talk about the gospel, but I didn't like her. So I wasn't listening to whatever it is that she was saying about her faith in the Lord. And she's really very nice. Yeah. For some reason, I just didn't like, she's okay.
It wasn't your time,
It wasn't my time. I was 11. I was very young.
Yeah.
And then I think, the Lord allowed things to happen. Like the evangelism, the sharing of the gospel to happen when I was 14, because that time I already have a lot of sins, so now I can talk about it. Sins that were not normal for teenagers like me, because I was deep into occultism, I was into witchcraft, levitation, astral projection, all these things that were very foreign, all these things that were local, like the albularyo, manghuhula, crazy stuff. So one of the things that the girl who was there, her name was Letlet, one of the things that she told me was, there are a lot of people who are very holy on Sundays, they would go to church, but during the week they do a lot of bad things. Yeah. And she was saying it in a language that I would understand, because I was a kid, I was 14. And I felt so guilty. And then she didn't know anything about my background. I was just one kid, skinny girl, who arrived that afternoon, ready to watch television. She didn't know anything about me. She just asked me to sit down. And then she read something from Galatians, I think, and she talked about witchcraft. I was so guilty. Oh, yeah. I felt that she was talking to me about me, targeting me. But after that afternoon, she also explained the gospel, and I prayed the prayer of salvation, and I received the Lord that same afternoon. And she came back several times. She talked to me about reading the Bible, that in some countries they didn't have a lot of freedom reading it. In the Philippines, we are very fortunate because we can read the Bible. And she taught me how to read the Bible. We started in the First John.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew about if First John 1:9. So that's one of the verses that she told me. She taught me from one of those sessions, and then she discussed the Second John, and then I went on to read Revelations. I'm trying to remember things now
You're
because
going to
it's happened
start
a long time ago.
That's a hard place to start Revelations.
Yes, and you know what? I had fever. After that, I think 3 days of reading Revelation
Yeah.
really impacted me so much that I was running a fever from too much reading. And it's not a normal thing that would happen to a pastor who's mature enough in the faith reading Revelation. When I was a kid, and I think I was maybe because I was into the occult, so I was interested in all these stuff, mystical stuff, because I was coming from that background. I survived. I was not able to attend any regular church after because my mother did not allow me, and my father threatened me that he would embarrass me in front of my friends if I would attend any church service. But I was able to attend later on when we relocated. Actually, it was a real house.
Mm-hmm.
That place where I got saved, where they found me, that was a temporary dwelling. When we moved to a real house, one lady, she's a laundry woman, invited me to her home church. And that's where I met a lot of people. That's where I heard the first gospel music, Praise 8, first gospel album. I love Praise 8. And that's where I felt the community of being part of a small church, eating together after service. It was a very small house, but the people had big hearts and they had a lot of stories to tell. And it was a very good experience for me. I saw the first church that I was introduced to was overflowing with love. So it was a very good, I had a very good foundation. And they're funny too. In the afternoon, we would have fellowships in the afternoon and they're singing. And when, there were games. And as a kid, you'd enjoy things like that. And I really did. Even if I was being threatened by my father that he would set my Bible on fire, I didn't care. I would still sneak out of the house and attend the service. But, it was challenging spiritually because I would still have nightmares coming from that background of occultism. They did not let me go that easily. But I'm okay now. I've already gone through inner healing and deliverance. I'm okay now. And I'm thankful. Hey, that lady who shared the gospel to me, Let, that school where we had the film showing in January, showing that child Portia attended, she's the principal there.
Wow.
She's the principal. So we go way back. We got and she's also a cancer survivor.
Wow, you can see how God's leading all this right now. You definitely see how God's leading all this and to the very place where the Lord first drew you to Him through that woman's telling you about the Lord. It's like so your parents weren't believers. They didn't encourage you to go to church or read the Bible, or
we were going to a different church.
But
later on, my mother got saved.
Yeah.
So we go to the same church now, and she's an usher, and she has her own friends now. So,
well, Lord saved in His time. Do you know your dad did it? The Lord will save in His time. Sometimes we never know when the Lord's gonna, resurrect someone, as from the dead. Because spiritually, the Lord saves us. We're born again, resurrected from our old life to the new life. So. Is your father still living?
No. He passed on. He died when I was 18.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Actually, it was his 29th death anniversary a couple of days ago, May 15th. May 15th. And every year on May 15th, something fun, because it's a heavy day for me, May 15th. I was remembering, for many years I was remembering two very sad things. The other one I cannot talk about. The other one was the death of my father. So every year, what God would do was He would allow something funny, something fun, interesting to happen on that day. And this year, May 15, I did not even expect it. I think in Pinky Town, our private group, we had our own concert, and we had a crooner serenading us, and he sang 10 beautiful songs, classic songs, songs that, songs about the Lord, Christian music. We had our mini concert. So it was God's way of making me feel happy on that day. Because God is very consistent. Every year on May 15, something really nice happens. So
Maybe
it's God's way of really comforting me.
Lord's telling you maybe your dad's okay. It's I have relatives that like my grandpa on my mom's side. He never really talked about the Lord. I wasn't saved till I was 29, and my grandpa Jimmy had raised me, and he was more into education, and he never talked about the Lord. He never went to church or anything, but the Lord shows us in the Bible that He could save people at the very end of their lives. Like, John the Baptist was born again from his mother's womb, and the thief on the cross wasn't saved till the very end of his life. So it's all in the Lord's timing, and maybe that's God's way of showing you that maybe the Lord, He was saved right near the end of His life, and He's with heaven, and He's making you smile on that day, so that's what I hold to my grandpa, because I never heard him talk about the Lord or anything, but the Lord reassures me that He's in heaven, even though, maybe at the very end, because the Lord, it's up to the Lord when we're born again, and the Lord, so the Lord's reassuring you that way,
Maybe that's the reason why he allows happy things to happen on May 15. Because I'm commemorating the death of my father again.
Yeah.
My father was the first person who taught me how to pray.
Yeah.
We had these things in the Philippines called libreta, prayer books, mini prayer books, and he was a very religious man. He would go to different churches, even my mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the things that he taught me, because he would read a lot, he was really a very passionate reader, and he taught me to read the libreta when I was, I think, in second grade.
What is that?
Libreta, a small prayer book.
Mm-hmm.
They just call it libreta, but I think for our Catholic brothers and sisters, I don't know what name they call it now, but when I was a kid, my father would just refer to it as libreta. And when I got saved and I was a teenager, I think I can remember one time, because we were arguing a lot. Before he died, we were arguing a lot. One time, I talked about Psalm 91, and he was listening to me. He was listening. I was reading a Bible to him. He was listening. He didn't say anything. I'm really hoping. I mean, God knows, because he prays a lot. He had his temper, and one of the reasons why I don't miss him, because he's animated guy. He's animated. He's very artistic. He's a good actor. He loves reading. He loves singing crazy songs. The reason why I don't miss him is that I see a lot of him in me, so that's, I think I inherited a lot from my father, not in monetary, not monetary, but character-wise, the traits, I got a lot from him. So I don't know. I mean, I will know once we are in heaven, when we're with the Lord. I'd love to see him there, and my sister too, because I had a sister who died when she was a baby. So her name was Gisette, a sister I never met. So yeah, I mean, God is a good God. You will know someday.
Oh, we've already been an hour and a half on the interview. It's just time's going by. I don't know. Do you have anything else you would like to share before we close in prayer? Or
Okay, to everyone, because we're giving away this book, this ebook for free. Okay, first thing, because I'm yesterday, as of yesterday, our website was still under construction. I think it's up and running now. But to be sure, if you want that free ebook, it's a collection of the stories that I wrote while I was on chemo. and you can share it with your friends. We're giving that away for free. The first thing you need to do is find me on Facebook. Okay, my account is for public consumption. Okay, you can send me a message and send me your email address. Just message me. Tell me that just let me know that you were able to watch this interview and you want a copy of that free ebook, and then your email address. And if you have friends who would also be interested in reading that book, the blue book, you can include their email addresses as well. And once you receive it, you can share it with your friends. So yeah, it's for free. So grab that opportunity now. Just send me a private message with your email addresses, and that's it.
Okay, we'll leave all the links to within the video and within the description, all the links to where they could just press the button, get right there nowadays and stuff. Thank you very much, Glenda, for coming on today. It was an awesome thing. I just felt like I was talking on the phone with an old friend, really, today. So we'll close in prayer.
Thank you.
Right now. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this time with Glenda today, and for sharing her testimony, here. And but Lord, please use her testimony to reach others for you, and strength in battling all the diseases this fallen world has, such as cancer, depression, sexual abuse, and just everything life tries to throw at each and every one of us, Lord. I pray that you, Holy Spirit, can work through Glenda and reaching people with all these plagues here in the world, and with the relationship with you, Lord Jesus Christ. For your name do I pray, Heavenly Father, in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen.